Sometimes your entire life is a lie. Welcome to the Complete Story Series. We take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into decimal bites to help you understand. Then we read it automatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Don't forget to support this great industry by getting these books online or getting them at your local comic book store. Valiant books may not be at your local store, so make sure you request them. We've been doing a bit of Valiant coverage lately, but where did this universe begin? How did it start? Well, it began with the Anti-Pata brothers. It all starts there, with the death of Galad, later to be known as the Eternal Warrior. Ivar couldn't cope with his brother's death. They have an ancient artifact, something that could revive Galad, but they don't know what it's going to do. They've never used the boon. Arum burst into the chamber to tell his brother to stop. Galad is lost to them. They'll have to deal with it. They can't use the boon. Grief has curdled Ivar's mind, and Ivar turns to him. You have no faith, brother. That's always been your problem, Arum. Ivar steps out to the ancient people of a time before anything. People of Ur, your heroes, the Anti-Pata, have returned, and they brought back the boon. Must eternal life be for the gods alone? Arum can't allow Ivar to turn on the boon, regardless of the loss of their brother Galad, and he charges in, slaughtering Ivar's guards, and then he leaps in to prevent Ivar. Ivar, stop! Too late, brother. And Ivar grabs the device and activates it. A blast of brilliant light hits Arum, throwing him back, and it begins to cover the entire planet Earth. All flesh that moved on the planet died that day. Birds, cattle, beasts, all swarming creatures that swarmed upon the Earth, and every man. The Earth itself got a fresh start due to the Anti-Pata brothers, Ivar, Arum, and Galad. We now go 10,000 years into the future with a boy named Obadiah Archer. He is training for a tasking set forth before him, and in his final test, he fully impresses his parents with his knowledge of all fighting styles and abilities. His parents are the great Reverend Archer and his wife, the Senator, and they inform Obadiah that he is to go to the land of sin to kill he who will not be named. He is to be destroyed, and he is on a festering isle of corruption and criminality, New York. They hand him an off-looking device, and they tell him that this will allow him to track the man. So he says goodbye to his life, his friends, and his sister, Mary Maria. He tells her that he'll write to her about his travels in the outside world, and he sets off to experience it for the first time. As he enters New York, he's in shock at the amount of liberal Maximus and atheist Nazis in this city, and how they sell sex. But the device brings him to a bar where he enters and finds a man arguing with a woman about putting her bra on the wall. It's a tradition, he tells her, but she tells him that she isn't putting her bra there. Archer holds up the device and it beams through the man, meaning that this man must be the one that he's hunting. So he jump kicks the thug, knocking him down, and he tells the woman that, ma'am, she'll be okay. He took care of it. And she hits him across the face. How dare you call me ma'am? Do I look old to you? Obviously, it's a misunderstanding. But across the bar, a heftier man is talking to the bartender, asking for more drinks for him and his lady friends. Armstrong, she tells him, get over there and put an end to this before it becomes a situation. You are the bouncer, so bounce or no more free drinks. Well, when you put it that way. So the man named Armstrong walks over and he grabs the individuals involved and he throws them off with single swings. A giant of a man then walks over and puts his fists into his hands, ready to fight with Archer and Armstrong. So Armstrong throws up on him. The man walks out disgusted and Archer turns to him. Thank you for coming to my aid, mister. And as Armstrong takes another swing at a bargoon, they call me Armstrong, kid. I'm Obadiah Archer, an accomplished martial artist, and I swear if my assailant had been male, I would not have been caught off guard. I was taught to never hit an innocent lady. If you decked that chick, your record would remain spotless. Her track marks had stretch marks. With the thugs finally dropped, Archer pulls the device out and the beam of light points right at Armstrong. Whoa, where did you get that, kid? Wait, you are he, Archer says, jumping in to kick Armstrong. They begin slugging it out, but that's when somebody throws a canister of sleeping gas onto the floor and they both pass out. Waking up in a cell, Archer can see that Armstrong is chained to the wall and that he himself is on the ground. Where are we? Archer asks. Looks like Federal Hall to me, on Wall Street. I've been locked up here a few times, like when Washington and his fellow sect members were on the balcony over there. Man, they threw some bitchin' parties. What are you saying? The founding fathers were heroes, not members of any sect. You're just trying to confuse me. I should just kill you here while you sit chained up. Ha! Good luck, kid. The sect's been trying for 10,000 years. It's the boon they want. A piece of that damned machine, and I hid it after it ended the world before this one, so that no one would ever use it again. That doohickey you used to find me, that's the fulcrum. Archer begins picking the lock to the door, ignoring Armstrong. Have you listened to anything I've told you, kid? You are the Prince of Lies. I'm gonna have a look around and see if what you are saying is true. He sneaks off into the hallways, dropping any guards in his way until he comes up to the big meeting chamber. And inside, he sees men in masks talking to someone on the screen. It's the people on the screen that shock him, though. They are his mother and his father. And they just told the men in masks that the boy is useless. They can kill him for all they care. They just want their fulcrum back. Archer jumps down onto the ground and he begins killing off the guards with punches, kicks, and throwing knives until they all lie dead in front of him. And then he turns to his parents on the screen. Young man, that is enough! Did Abraham not sacrifice his son to the Lord as an offering? No! You don't get to twist scripture! This is not heaven's plan, it is yours! His father puts his hands into his face and begins to cry that the devil has taken their son. But his mother tells his father with an evil grin on her face, "It's alright. We'll send in Mary Maria. She's still loyal." Archer flips out, shooting the TV screen they are on. No! And then he finds himself unconscious as more guards arrive to hit him. Meanwhile, back with Armstrong, the guards walk in to tell him that they got his friend, that crazy kid. Oh, that kid's no friend of mine. And I'm not going anywhere until I find my magical satchel. Your bag? It's never leaving the illuminated vault. Good to know, Armstrong says as he rips the shackles out of the wall holding him there. He quickly dispatches of both of the guards and he walks through the facility until he reaches the vault, where he tears the door off with his bare hands and then he walks in grabbing his satchel. Meanwhile, back with Archer, he's currently strapped to a table being offered as a sacrifice, where he begins to get a vision of a naked man floating over him. Only you can see me, Archer, and you're going to be needed to assist Armstrong. He'll need your guidance, and you can get him to find the boon so that you can use it to get your sister back. As the vision fades, Archer catches a knife that is intended for his head, and he frees himself just as Armstrong bursts through the door shouting, "Hang on, little buddy!" They talk it out and Armstrong realizes that the sect is after the boon once again, and Archer convinces him that it's up to them to find it before the sect. So they take the 1%ers' private jet and they get themselves to Rome, where they make their way to one of Armstrong's oldest friends, a nun guarding the works of Michangelo and trying to hide from the sect. Their plan is to get another piece of the boon that Armstrong hid with Michangelo, and after solving a puzzle that was laid out specifically for Armstrong, it brings them to odds against a sect of warrior nuns. After defeating all of the nuns, they stumble their way through the rest of the labyrinth, and Armstrong gets a little distracted by their vintage wines. He actually gets a little too distracted and he passes out drunk, irritating Archer because he walks off fed up with his partner. What kind of person deviates from the mission to drink? But Archer still has Armstrong's map of where the other pieces are, so he enters the main hall and he looks up at the painting on the wall where the next piece should be, only to find Mary Maria standing there removing the piece from the wall. Mary and Archer embrace as she has no idea what's happened, and she asks him if he got the piece of the boon and if he killed the one who will not be named. But at that moment, Armstrong returns, apologizing to Archer for getting super drunk. That happens when he drinks red, but don't worry, he brought white this time. Mary recognizes he who should not be named right away, and she fires 2 crossbow bolts into Armstrong's eyes. But Archer stops her. "Sister, no! Armstrong may be a lout, a drunk, a blasphemer. Hey, I can still hear just fine! But he is not evil. It is our parents that are the problem. They are using us because they crave all the power for themselves." Mary looks down in shock. It can't be true. And then she decides. It isn't. She kicks Archer and then explains that his parents told everyone that he was jealous since he was their only true biological son and everyone else was passing the trials. Behind them, Armstrong starts swinging wildly. "Keep flapping your pie hole so I can stick my fist in it." Mary sees Armstrong's magical satchel, so she starts going for it, and Archer jumps over her, grabs Armstrong's coat, and throws it at her to throw her off balance. Then, Armstrong punches him. "Mr. Armstrong, that was me." "What, seriously? You totally sounded like a chick." Mary throws a bunch of crossbow bolts at Archer, and he grabs a nearby dead body to take the shots. Then, Mary throws Armstrong off the catwalk. Archer debates if he should stop Mary or go rescue Armstrong, and that's when the mysterious naked person appears again and tells him that he needs to save Armstrong. He is the key to this. Mary looks at Archer confused because she doesn't see him talking to anyone, and decides that it is he who should not be named that has done something to Archer, and that's why he's turned on her. She fires another bolt and it goes through Archer's stomach and into Sister Tommy, the nun that helped them earlier. She then flees the building, taking the satchel from Archer, exclaiming, "I didn't mean to!" Archer tries to tell Tommy the nun that he'll get her to the hospital, but it's too late, and she passes on. So he walks over to Armstrong and sees that his eyes are currently missing, but they are healing. And he fills Armstrong in that Tommy is dead. And Armstrong tells him, "They just made this personal. She was the nicest lady that I knew." Meanwhile, across the globe in Tibet, a series of Nazi monks with Hitler mustaches are trying to put together all 6 pieces of the boon and put them into the machine, and they're preparing to try and gain immortality. While outside, Archer and Armstrong have already gotten nearby, and it's time for their infiltration, and they begin by launching a grappling hook across the chasm. But as they quickly begin sliding over, Archer realizes Armstrong weighs a little bit more than he planned, and it snaps, swinging the 2 of them into a building and onto the cliffside, where Armstrong barely catches Archer. But luckily, this is one of the areas that Armstrong remembers, as he tells Archer, "I've been everywhere, kid. It's been 10,000 years. So he opens up a back door. They then run inside and get right to work beating on more of the sect guards, and fighting against the Hitler-stashed Green Dragon monks. But just as Archer is winning and tapping into all kinds of techniques and fighting styles, the Green Dragon monks put a stop to it because, as they say, that's an ability that they took half a century to learn. And if Archer can tap into anything, then he's more dangerous than they thought, so they shut him down. Archer holds his hands to his head in pain, telling them he doesn't understand what's going on. But he doesn't need to because Mary reaches into Armstrong's bottomless satchel and pulls out a lightning gun? She shocks all of them, saving Archer. Meanwhile, Armstrong has made his way to the room holding the boon, and in front of it he sees a gray-haired man on his knees. Armstrong quickly realizes what the sect has done. They captured a geomancer. A geomancer is a person that can talk to the earth, and only one exists at a time, and only one can talk to the earth at a time. The geomancer tells Armstrong, "I betrayed my calling. They tortured me so that I would give them the fulcrum. But forget me. Get them!" Archer's brother and sisters all jump in, beginning to beat on the still kind of blind Armstrong. But none of that truly matters because the Reverend Archer, Obadiah Archer's father, activates the boon. Everyone in the room begins to have their life forces sucked out while Armstrong sees it starting again. Archer walks in carrying Mary while her life force is being sucked out as well, and he asks, "Mr. Armstrong, what's happening?" Armstrong hits the boon with a fist. "It's happening again. I failed, kiddo. Game over, Archer." It would be the end, except Archer sees his mysterious naked man once again. "That's it, Obadiah Archer. Our room has led you here. It's now your turn to do the rest. The boon has one weakness, and you need to strike it with your abilities." "What? The world will be lost if you do not. The world can burn. I want to save her. But first, I want to trust you. Who are you? Because I doubt you are who you want me to think you are." "Very well. My name is Ivar, and I was the last fool to activate the boon. And I am Armstrong's brother. I can share my knowledge of the device with you, but I cannot affect the 3-dimensional plane." Okay, let's flip and go for it. So Ivar shoves his hand into Archer's head, and he tells him exactly where to strike. And Archer winds up and hits the boon as hard as he can. It explodes everywhere, throwing everyone back. And the geomancer celebrates their success, only to have a piece of the boon fall on him. Armstrong yells out, "Oh crap!" and he runs over to lift the boon off of the geomancer's body. He could be okay. He could be okay. "Grant me one final wish, Armstrong," the geomancer says, bleeding out all over the ground. Do I have to? I kinda got a lot on my plate right now." "You have to, because with my death, he will be unleashed. The fist and the steel of the geomancers. He will come for you to avenge me. Only my successor can stop him." Armstrong walks over to Archer and tells him, "You did it, little buddy! You saved the universe! But now, we need to go. You've killed the geomancer. Sure, it was by mistake, but you did it. And that means that he'll be after them. The man that the Earth won't let die. It looks like it's time for a family reunion." Honestly, one of my favorite elements of the Valiant universe are these 3 brothers, Galad, Armstrong, and Ivar. They have such amazing stories together, and with the release of a brand new Eternal Warrior book, we're going to be giving you the beginnings of all 3 of their stories. So the rest of this week, you're going to see the beginning of the Eternal Warrior, and you're going to see the beginning of Ivar. And trust me, I love all of these stories. But don't worry, we will be coming to the next part of Archer and Armstrong to tell you about Galad coming to kill Archer. Yeah, he's the Eternal Warrior. He protects the Geomancers. I'm Benny the Comicstorian, and don't forget to check out this great universe, and I'll see you next time right here.